What's up, Internet? You're tuned into episode 19 of Nintendo Noise, Flip Screen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined, as always, by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello.
And the mayor of Aiken himself, Mr. Chuy Huerta.
Hello.
Welcome back, boys, to the very last episode of Nintendo Noise for 2021. Of course, we will be back next.
Forever?
Not forever. Don't worry. We're coming back.
Okay.
We're coming back.
Okay, good.
But this will be our last show for the year of this show. We'll still have a kind of a final wrap-up episode next week over on the Flip Screen Games podcast. Chuy will be sitting in with us. So it's not your last show with us for the year, but your last Nintendo-only show for the year. So, of course, we know we got to blow it out. We're going to talk all about Nintendo's year of 2021. So it's going to be a fun one. I'm very much looking forward to it. But before that, let me remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of December. They are, of course, Andy Radford, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Asobi, Smilky Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you guys so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all are the realest of the real, and we greatly appreciate your support over there, helping us keep these mics on, tuning in for all of our content. Y'all are the best. We appreciate you. Speaking of the Patreon, that is the best place to go above and beyond to show your support. You can get a bunch of cool perks and goodies, including our our Patreon exclusive podcast, One More Thing, where on the last week's show, we talked all about me becoming an uncle, and I haven't updated it yet, so if you go and look, you'll see it's a very special, very tiny episode, and I won't spoil what that means for you. It's a normal length. I'll spoil that part, so go check it out. If you're lucky enough to catch it before I fix it, you'll probably get a chuckle out of that one. My computer had a fun little render decision on that one. But there's a bunch
postage stamp in the middle of the screen. It's crazy. It's like this. I was like, Pete, what the fuck happened with One More Thing this week? And you're like, I have no idea.
I literally
no idea.
I exported it and Flip Screen Games at the same time in the same preset, and one of them came out wacky. So good thing it's the the Patreon one, so you guys can get that special little program. But it was a great episode. We had a good time talking about life, really. Yeah, and the wonder of childbirth, I guess, and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Go listen to that. It's a good. I thought it was a pretty uplifting show. But there's a bunch of other really cool perks you can get if you head over there. If you support us at the Blue Coin level, you'll be able to get access to streams of the archive of all of our streams over on our Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/flipscreengames, where every Wednesday Steve is there playing right now Shenmue, but we're fast approaching the season finale of Shenmue, and at which point all of you patrons will be able to vote on what game Steve will take up next for his solo streams on Wednesdays. So you're going to want to go get that perk and cast your vote if there's a specific game you want to see Steve take a stab at. But then there's also a bunch of other cool stuff you can get, like becoming a Patreon producer, and a bunch of other perks and goodies. So yeah, go check that stuff out if you wanna show your support in that way. But if you don't have any money to toss our way, that's no problem. There's a bunch of free ways that you can help the show out that won't cost you a nickel. So head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website. We have links to all of the ways you can get in touch with the show, become a part of the community. Come join our Discord. Write into us at questions@flipscreen.games, and you can be a part of the conversation on the air, or continue the conversation with us after the show's over on the Discord or over on our Twitter account at flipscreengames. So come connect with us wherever you can and be a part of this wonderful little community that we're building. Or just come find a nice, safe, inclusive place for you to talk games. So let's jump into it. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do a little bit of a retrospective on Nintendo's 2021. So we have a list of all of the major games that they dropped this year. We've played a surprising amount of them. There's a couple on this list that we've missed, so we'll have to just, I guess, talk about the critical reception to those. But let's jump into it. So the first big release we had in 2021 was, of course, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which came out on February 12th. So
closed out the 35 years of Mario. It was the final kind of big hurrahs to celebrating Mario's birthday,
Before
and
they killed Mario 35.
yes, just I know that was so sad.
Evil.
I mean that's
Evil.
got to go down as one of the worst decisions they made this year.
It's
But
so good. I miss it.
one day you'll get another one. One day. But it's surprising how good that game was and how well it landed, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, this was in contention for a bunch of Game of the Year or awards at the Game Awards and other publications as well. And I think rightly so. Bowser's Fury really took the formula of 3D World and kind of mixed it with Odyssey and spewed out something new and fresh that we'd never seen from the Mario genre or the Mario franchise before.
Well, and it's funny because I think
Yeah.
it was like 2 weeks ago or maybe even last week where we were discussing about kind of what does the future of 2D Mario look like? Like how can Nintendo continue to innovate with Mario? And obviously Bowser's Fury wasn't a 2D game, but I think it showed that there's a lot that you can do yet because that was a totally new, fresh thing that Mario was able to bring to the table. And the idea of that as kind of like a more fleshed out, full-fledged experience is something I think everybody was excited about, you know?
Yeah. It has so many like really cool ideas that I really hope that they bring into a full experience too. Things like those power-ups being stackable and kind of like having a bit of a backpack with you, you
Yeah.
Love
know?
that. Like an
I considered
inventory
it
for the
like an
first time.
inventory thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just being able to like swap things out, like more of a tool belt, you know? And that really left me thinking of like, oh, cool. What if I use this instead on this level? What's gonna happen? So, I don't know. I think stuff like that's gonna make it like feel fresh whenever we play the next Mario.
Yeah, and like the like kind of I don't know. It's funny. Like funny enough, it's kind of reminiscent of what 343 is doing with Halo now, where it's like kind of an open world. You know, like it's a world. It's a small world with open world elements. You know, and that was really unique for a Mario title. Like having the whole kind of like you constantly had Bowser off in the distance, and you have this kind of like living world where there's a ticking clock and things are going to happen. And as you would, advance certain goals, levels would change and evolve, and, new collectibles would be opened up, and you'd get new skills that let you traverse to new areas. And all of those things really, really struck a chord with me. And I think aside from that, if you were one of the folks like me who like didn't get your hands on Super Mario 3D World when it was on Wii U, that was also a treat. Like that's a game that was reviewed really, really highly, and so many people really, really, have sung its praises over the year, and it was always one I meant to make time for, but just never quite got around to it. So having the excuse to go back to that on top of getting this really, really fresh new experience, I that was frankly, I think, at least on the Nintendo side of the fence, one of the standout games of the year for me. By a lot.
Yeah,
Funny
same here.
Funny enough, I still haven't gotten back around to doing the Super Mario 3D World stuff.
Wow, okay.
I only played Bowser's Fury, and it was because, I played 3D World already, and I was like, I did the solo multiplayer thing, and then I just like my schedule never lined up to play with people online. I was like, well, I'm not gonna play it on my own again. I want to play it with people this time around.
I mean, hey, bud, we could play it again. We did.
I'm not doing it. No, not a chance. That was the worst online experience ever. Like, it got to the point where we just had to bubble up and just let AJ just go, because
those streams were so fun.
Jump and move, it would like lag and we would like fall off, and it was hilarious because the online was so terrible and like everything needed to be in perfect sync in order to be able to achieve anything. And when you're playing a platformer which needs a little bit of finesse to it, you need to be able to land on a moving platform specifically at the right moment. It's very difficult to do it when the online is lagging like crazy. So thankfully there is the feature where you just press the R button and it just puts you in a bubble. And as long as one of the people playing is still alive, they can just go through single player. It's great.
It's worth pointing this out, but if it's not like Mario Kart or Mario 35, Mario's online is just really poor. it does.
I think
not work
Party
very well.
Superstars is pretty good though.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Okay,
That's really
Superstars,
good.
Yeah,
They've stepped it up now. They finally realized Mario needs some good online games other than COD.
I'll tell you what though, like you're right. The online experience was terrible playing that game. The two of us with Sierra and AJ was so much fun. It was like
it was bad with Mario Maker 2.
Yeah.
And I was so bummed about that. Man, hopefully this means they're just stepping it up, making it good.
Fingers crossed. So a couple weeks later, on February 26th, we had Bravely Default 2. Did any of us play this?
I did not.
I bought it.
I saw
I
Chuy nodding. I was
loved
like,
the
he's going to
first
save
one.
me here. He'll have a take.
I loved the first one, but yeah, I haven't touched this one yet.
So it
but-
sounds like you're in exactly the same boat as me, only you bought it and I didn't. So you're better than I am, I guess. Or I'm better than you, depending on which set of values I guess we're judging ourselves by. But I know that friend of the show, Parker from Fanatics 4, AJ's partner in crime, he played and really, really loved this game. Much like you, Chuy, I really, really have fond memories of the original Bravely Default. And I never played the, Bravely Second, which was like the first attempt at a sequel. It didn't go so hot. But by all accounts, this was good. So I'm bummed that I didn't make the time for it, but I'm hoping I can get to it one of these days.
I am still hoping to this day that the next one, whatever the real third one is Bravely 3 Fault. That's all I want.
You know, I really hope so. You know, I don't have the highest hopes for it, just considering they didn't call Splatoon 2 Splatoon. That bothers me
And
to
all the
this day.
fans do though, so that's all that matters really. Do you know what, Chuy? I feel like having got to know you a lot more over the last year, that you have a thing for puns, and it's probably why you're fond of the Fast and the Furious movies with their terrible,
They're so
awful
bad.
titles.
Too
The
Fast,
pun
Too
is
Furious.
wild. Yeah.
Oh man,
it's
the
terrible.
titles. My favorite thing about Fast and the Furious, I think the fourth movie is just called Fast and Furious.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fourth movie, Fast and Furious. Why?
My favorite is Fate of the Furious, and it's the 8th movie, and it's like F8.
Fate, yeah, F8.
Yeah, they're terrible.
They're fucking
Seriously.
wilding out over there, man.
They ditch everything in 9. It's just F9. That's
9.
it.
Oh, man. So next up, we had Monster Hunter Rise on March 26th. This is one that I know... Chuy, did you get around to this? Steve and I didn't. I don't remember if you played this.
No, I got the other Monster Hunter one later in the year.
Right, okay.
But this one was definitely one that it tempted me because I've been wanting to get into Monster Hunter for a long time, but you know, it feels like a big commitment any time of whenever.
But this was another one that I know really, really like struck a chord with folks. Like obviously it was nominated for best role playing game at the Game Awards. It got generally pretty glowing reviews. Its Metacritic scores at an 88. It's pretty high. And I know that I just saw this that it sold 4 million units worldwide in 3 days, which is pretty insane.
Yeah. And I'll say I'm still like tempted to get it, and part of it is because like Monster Hunter fans love Monster Hunter and they keep playing, so I feel like if I wanted to get into it, there would be somebody else out there to play with me. You
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah. I think that's safe to say. So yeah, go get him. Go get him, Monster Hunter. I feel like ever since like that game went from being, or that franchise I should say, went from being like a very niche thing in the West and like, oh, it's really big in Japan and, you know, like some dorks who live in America like it. But ever since World, it feels like it's on like a whole other level now. The fact that this game sold like 7 million copies this year is kind of wild. Really cool for Capcom. And for the Monster Hunter community, because like you said, those folks are die hard and they've had plenty to keep them busy lately. So that's good shit. So next up, we had new Pokemon Snap on April 30th. Wow, what a game! Never thought it would exist. Never thought it would ever come out. I thought the best we could hope for would be like a solid port of the original.
Are you going to get that as well? Because we got that as well this year.
Coming right around the corner.
At some point, right around the corner. It's probably going to be like 6 months' time if they're releasing a game a month on the N64 emulator.
Who knows? It could be number 3.
You know, I was just looking at the list of like what did we know that was upcoming, and there's 7 games so far. Paper Mario's come out, and Banjo-Kazooie got announced for next month. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, 5 more months before maybe we get some other surprises here, because I'm holding out for Diddy Kong, of course. But Pokemon Snap is on that list, so half a year. I would say.
I mean, it could. It could be. It could be February's game.
It could be next.
We don't know.
It could be next.
It'll be exciting. But once we do,
why would you do February's game when you've got a Pokemon game coming out in February though?
It's coming out in January. So the following month, they'll need their new
Pokemon.
February. Isn't Arceus February?
I thought it was January. No. Let's find out.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it's
January 28th.
Yeah, January 28th.
January 28th. I put the date down wrong.
Unbelievable. Oh, it's fine. I'll forgive you. But anyway, I really appreciated this game. I think it's very much for fans of the genre type game. Like, I think if you didn't love the original Pokemon Snap, if the idea of a Pokemon Snap wasn't something that was going to float your boat, then, maybe not for you. But for folks who were a big fan of the original, like myself, I know it definitely connected with a lot of people. I still haven't gotten around to that free DLC they added, so it's one that I'd like to circle back to at some point.
It's got to be my bedtime game again. Just before
I loved that. That was my jam with it. Like, I would sit in my dark bedroom and just just snap some pics. It's very relaxing game. So yeah, glad to see that came back and made the waves that I think it needed to. Right, got a nom at the Game Awards. What more can you ask for a Pokemon Snap successor? Pretty good, pretty damn good. So then next up we had the Famicom Detective Club, The Missing Heir, and Famicom Detective Club, The Girl Who Stands Behind. I remember these were a pretty big deal when they got announced because obviously they had never been overseas before, but I gotta tell you, that is about the extent of my knowledge about these games.
Yeah, me too. Did not pick these up. Don't plan on picking them up, but they look cool. I think they're just visual novels, right?
I think so.
Mystery visual novels.
Yeah, which are not really my thing. Never been a huge visual novel type person. I like games that have visual novel elements in them, if that makes sense. I feel like a lot of games that you took the visual novel genre and built upon it. I'm thinking the Telltale games, for example. They or
took
even
visual
Persona,
novel.
right? Persona has
Persona to some extent, but that's significantly layered.
For sure.
Layer 1 is visual novel, and then you got a stack of a million different things to do in that game.
But I feel like a lot of the social sim elements have some of that with it, right? Where a big part of the reward is, I'm going to go invest in talking to this person so I can get this story beat and, some of those kinds of things. Yeah, I think you're right. I like elements of it. I like the I enjoyed, oh God, what is it? It's the game with Monokuma. He's the bear and he's half white, half black. And he's Danganronpa. Yeah. And that's
That's definitely a visual novel.
Yeah.
No, that is just a visual novel.
Right. And and that's, it's all.
You ever play the Nonary games as well? 9990 Escape?
No, I haven't.
They're pretty good. I recommend checking those out. They were on DS. They got ported, I think, to all consoles. I say all consoles, they're not on Switch, but I think they're on PS4 and Xbox. They're definitely on PS4.
All of the consoles. Every one of them.
Not the good one, though.
Next up, on May 21st, we got Miitopia. Now,
this was a surprise as well.
This one you played,
surprise.
right, Chuy? I remember this.
I played this one. This is I don't even know how to explain it. It's such a easy game to just have on in the background of stuff. If you just want to have some sort of game going on, because it's an RPG. Every character does their own thing except for the one you control. So it just auto runs you through levels. You run into a monster. Sometimes you pick what direction to go on a path, but It's not worth $50, I'll tell you that. But the really cool thing about it is definitely just like the me designs, the things people can make with that. I'm just like,
Oh, in the new
I don't even
enhanced
know where to
editor, right?
start. Yeah, I'm my entire run is Animal Crossing characters that people made. I just like searched them and just went through people's codes and was like, all right, I'm gonna download all these characters and they're just gonna be my party for
That's
this.
cute.
So it's cute. Yeah, it's cute in that sense. No, I think it should be significantly less, maybe $20, honestly, because the game basically plays itself. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame. I'm not a fan of that as a $50 game, and that's something I really wish Nintendo would be a little bit like bolder about, is kind of experimenting and exploring that like pricing scale, because I feel like they have plenty of games that they put out at a $60 price point that don't necessarily feel like they're worth it at that price point, and I wonder if more folks would buy them if they were cheaper. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like the best part about it you can get from the demo of just like the character creator thing. So just play the demo.
There you
It's
go.
good
That's
enough.
funny. I will say, officially in the UK, this is one of their £40 games. It's not 50 or 60.
Must be
And
nice.
you can get it. You can get it for like 30 quid here. So when you say that, I wish they would experiment with, pricing and stuff. They do outside of America. I think they do it in other
Yeah,
regions
no, I
over
know,
in Europe as
Steve.
well.
It's great. It's just like medicine in this country, where we pay the absolute highest premium and subsidize all the price experimentation for everybody else. It's wonderful. All right, next up, on May 25th, we had Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster. I gotta say, I don't know what the fuck Atlas and Sega were thinking putting this game out this year. I just feel like that was such a mistake.
Do you feel like it was a delay and it should have been last year alongside like the announcement, or like Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming next year? Here's Shin Megami Tensei 3 to tide you over.
I think that would have been the ideal scenario, and if you couldn't achieve that, I don't know. Maybe this is crazy to say, but I feel like I would have delayed 5 until next year, because like I feel like putting them both out in the same year, you're sending this game out to die. It feels like, and I wonder how many people picked this up and were like, "Oh, I don't like this," and then didn't maybe get 5.
And then didn't get 5. Yeah.
Like
there's so many quality of life things that aren't in that game that will be in 5.
And it's like that's anecdotal speculation. Like I don't want to make a point like, "Oh, that's a huge problem," but it's like I feel like there's no good reason to have 2 of the same series out when a new one that people have been hungry for is on the way, and to your point, Steve, doesn't have any of those quality of life changes, isn't maybe the best representation of what the franchise looks like in a modern era. It just feels like this could have either come out earlier or later, right? If you had wanted to put this out now and maybe delay 5, or put out 5 this year and put this out next year or the year after, like what was the reason to rush this out the gate just a few months before the franchise properly comes back? It feels weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like it was a move more for like, oh, we have a bunch of Shin Megami Tensei fans that will probably want something between now and then. Because I do have a friend who like picked up both and was very excited about both of them. But like outside of people who are already fans, I'm just like, I don't know if this does it for the rest of the audience.
Not to mention that, like, and I don't want to be this fan, but like, come on, man. Like, what is the thing that we've actually been asking for this entire time? It's Persona.
You're never gonna get it.
But it's like, even if they didn't do 5,
they must have a locked up.
But like,
they must have locked up deals with Sony, because 4 Gold ain't coming either.
But that seems crazy. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's that simple. But like, what deal did they sign when that game came to Vita in like 2014 that still applies now, and they can put it on Steam but can't put it on Switch? Like, that just seems...
It'll be console exclusive. I'm sure that's what it is. It's like you have console exclusivity
forever
on this game. Well, yeah, They probably funded a huge chunk of that game.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe
It really, really sucks, especially considering this is the year of Persona and it's 25 years since the original game came out.
Let me challenge that with this though. If that was the case, why isn't the port on PlayStation?
Yeah, you can probably play the PS2 game, can you? I don't know.
No, I don't think that's on that list.
Oh, that's a shame.
I mean, unless maybe it's coming to that new streaming service that they're talking about. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, Vita games are meant to be on there.
It feels like a real punch in the face. No, Vita wasn't listed. They have PSP. So that means oh my God. I just want to play this on a platform that's not the PC or the Vita. It's fine. Or I don't know.
This wasn't made for
You can
Persona 3, the other game that everybody
Persona
wants a port of.
Arena.
Oh, great. Thank God. Fucking believable. Shin Megami Tensei 3. I'm sure it was great. Game Builder Garage came out in June 11th.
Thank God it did, because that won me a point. Thank you, Nintendo, for your brand new franchise.
I resent this game so much. I have never touched it. I have no reason to have any feelings about this game, but I fucking hate that this game exists, because it definitely was the thing that clinched your victory.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, we'll talk about it when we do our proper predictions for next year, and we'll check in on the final score of all of our predictions from this year.
That'll be on the final episode of Flip Screen.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
But right now it's 2 for 3.
Did a few courses.
I'm sorry.
I picked it up, did a few courses, and it was pretty neat. I would like to learn more.
I think the cool thing about it is seeing the creations that other people do. For me, this is the same as like Dreams on PlayStation or Super Mario Maker 2. It's very much, I'm not going to create this stuff myself because I don't have the time or the effort. I'm lazy and I'm not going to do it. But seeing what other people can create is awesome. There's like one I saw recently, which was like a Metroid game that someone had created, where it's like a Metroid shooter and you're like stood in the middle and you're shooting all of these Metroids coming at Samus. And they had painstakingly drawn all of these sprites of Samus within Game Builder Garage, and it's absolutely insane.
That is cool. Yeah, I think this kind of game is just it's not for me. It's awesome, but it's the kind of thing that like I would rather see what people make like on Twitter when people are like, look, someone made this cool thing, than like actually going and like trying them for myself. Like that's just it's never quite been my bag. So I never got around to this one either. In the same way that I never touched Dreams, even though I wanted to. I thought about it, but I was like, nah.
Dreams should have been on PC. I think if Dreams ever comes to PC, then that will be where it finds a proper home.
They should have fucking made it a pack-in with the PS5, I think. I feel like that would have been the way to go.
You need the Move controllers to really even do anything in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you could incentivize people to go buy those by giving them the game for free.
They still work with the PS5, though?
They do. The other thing that you could do, I've heard people talk about is, like, maybe you make the part where you play the games free, or, like, there are certain games you can play even if you don't own it.
Yeah, that's how RPG Maker works on Switch, so you can make the RPG Maker game. I think you can make it on PC as well, the RPG Maker game, and then you get a code and you can download that just in a player and you can share it with your friends, and then they can play the game. So you're basically buying like the game engine, make the game in it, and you can share it with your friends so they can play for free, which is really cool.
That is cool.
So moving right along, on June 25th, we got Mario Golf Super Rush. I and Chuy loved this game. Spent quite a bit of time with it. Had just a blast. This was like my go-to like TV wind down type game for several weeks, where I was just like, I gotta get better at golf, and I was really trying to like learn the physics and be like, how do you account for the wind and all that nonsense.
You know, I think we can count down the exact number of weeks, because I think it was until July 21st when Pokemon Unite came out, which was about the length of time you got on that. About a month.
I think you're right. I played it a little bit longer than that, because I remember I came back in when the DLC came out for another couple nights, but. Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I think it's fair to say it was a little content light at launch. They've added things since that have been good additions, but I couldn't help but feel like I wanted more courses, and especially because a couple of the courses are very like they're just basic greens, like there's really only a couple that are like wacky Mario levels, and I think that's really what you want out of a Mario sports title more than anything. So
it also seemed like a bunch of the modes didn't really land with you as much as they could have. Like, it seemed like you seemed to stick to just the playing golf mode and maybe like the rush mode.
I like the battle mode too. That was fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily, they did all the DLC seems to be like, here are all the wacky courses that you want. So we're just gonna have to revisit it, do some golf.
Yeah. What do you think of that strategy? Because I was bullish on it, and I thought it was a good idea because it works so well for Splatoon 2. But on reflection, they did the same thing, obviously, with new Pokemon Snap, delivering free updates for the additional content afterwards. I just don't think it works. I don't think people go back to it. I think it works for games that you're playing all the time. You're playing Splatoon 2 all the time, or you want to go check it out with your friends. It's great. Or Animal Crossing, it works because you're in it constantly. It's a game you're meant to play daily. I don't think it works for something like Super Rush.
I'm of two minds. I think in the case of Super Rush, it's fine, but I think I generally agree with you in that like that game felt content light at launch for me. So the fact that I got everything unlocked and like I didn't play the story mode, I didn't have any interest in it. I unlocked all of the stuff through just playing. Which a lot of people didn't know you could do when it came out, and I found out by accident after I had been told you couldn't do that. I was like, oh, well, I did. So I skipped, I think the vast majority of what they would consider the single-player content. So I felt like I was left with a game that I really enjoyed and had a strong foundation, but there wasn't really enough to keep me invested in it beyond a couple weeks, which isn't the worst thing, but...
I kind of feel like Nintendo knew that, though, because they pre-announced the New Donk City course at launch. It was like, this game's coming out, and there's going to be a New Donk City course coming in the future. So it kind of feels like, well, we needed to hit this release date. We're just going to take some content out in order to do that, and then we'll release this at a later date.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think there's something inherently wrong with that strategy because I think with Pokemon Snap, I actually think it works pretty well because, like, granted, I haven't gone back and played the new stuff, but like I'm not the best litmus test for that. Like I'm not the player who's super inclined to do that. I don't always go back for DLC, even if I love a game. A lot of times I go back way later, or I have to replay the game and reorient myself, and there's a lot of reasons that I don't go back for additional content. But I made the argument at launch that I thought that new Pokemon Snap had enough content, I think there's an argument to be made about the price point, and, some folks felt it was overpriced. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But I felt like I wanted that game at the quality that it came out, and I felt like what was there was substantial enough for me to get my fill. So when they added more stuff, I was like, oh, great. Now this game is in even better value, and if I go back and play it, great. I have an excuse to go back and spend more time with the game. But I also feel like it was an opportunity for like new players or folks who maybe didn't get it at launch to be like, oh, you know what? There's new stuff. I'll get it now, right? Like it brings it back up in the conversation. And that is hard to do for single-player games. So I think there is value in doing it, but I think that you need to make sure that the base game's offerings are strong enough. And that's where I'm, split on it a little.
Yeah. I think about this a lot because it seems to be Nintendo's strategy with like a lot of their games recently. And I think with Splatoon and Animal Crossing, it worked. And the difference to me is that both of those kind of have regular events that are intended to bring people back in. Splatoon would have the Splatfest throughout the year. Animal Crossing has its different events going on throughout the year. So all of those updates kind of brought a little something extra for people to enjoy on top of like, here's this event now, Whereas like they've done weird DLC packages for... I don't know, Kirby Star Allies? What did that do? I don't know, not much. I mean, most people who had already gotten that game, had played through it, beaten it, are kind of done, and it's like, there's not too much incentive of going back. Whereas like these games, there's a lot more of a community aspect around it where players are putting things into it as much as like they're getting out of it in some senses, you know? So I don't know. I think it just depends on how the community really interacts with the game. So with Mario Golf, I think it's fine. I guess they keep doing some little DLC to, put out the game, but at the same time, like, I don't know if it was as effective with these because it's not like as huge a community at this point as Splatoon is, where people are like, oh yeah, I really want to get into competitive Mario Golf. There are not too many
There's not a
people
scene
saying
for
that.
it, right?
Yeah, there's not, yeah.
So like even
I
if
do
you
watch
were excited
somebody-
about it, they're not necessarily like rewarding that enthusiasm as much as they could be. Whereas like Splatoon and
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, there is that
Yeah,
community, there is that fervor.
And yeah, and I think the thing that's missing with this game and that it kind of existed in the past, like Mario Golf World Tour, they had tournaments that were like online limited time tournaments where they're like try to get the high score in this one, and so people were playing that constantly on the 3DS, whereas this one it's just like it doesn't have that to keep people coming back. And this is something I'm seeing in some of the games we're going to talk about that came out later in the year, stuff like WarioWare, where it's like every week there's this new little challenge to go through. So it's just like, oh, well, it looks like this is the day I play WarioWare for the night, where, it has little events that are built into the game that are keeping people coming back. And I just don't think that exists in some of these. And that's where it's missing with the DLC.
Yeah, I agree. So next up we had Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. This came out on July 9th. So this was the one you played.
Yeah, so I mean, played as in like I played and enjoyed the demo and then bought it, but then still haven't played the full game. But I've been thinking a lot about it recently because I've been I'll be honest, I've been struggling with Diamond, Pokemon Diamond.
Yeah.
And mostly it's just like kind of bored. I don't think it's as fun as other Pokemon games, or I don't know, maybe I just like wasn't as much in the mood for a Pokemon game as I thought I was, but I think I am. It's just Diamond isn't doing it for me, so I'm just like, I want to go play Monster Hunter Wings
It
of
was
Ruin.
once you noticed those feet, Chuy, you couldn't play it anymore. You saw those
I know.
feet and you were like, I can't.
Yeah, they're just not doing it for me.
Speaking of not doing it for me, we had Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword July 16th. This was one I entertained the idea of picking up and just didn't. Maybe someday, but yeah, I don't know. I
wonder how many people were like that though.
I'm not
I want
super
to see the sales
motivated.
figures on this when they're out next quarter, really, and
Yeah.
see. Is this going to make the?
I feel like
it's
they're
going to
gonna
make
be
the million
underwhelming.
seller list, but I think it's going to be way less than people anticipate.
Yeah, I think so too.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it set the world on fire. But speaking of a game that set my world on fire, Pokemon Unite, July 21st. Holy shit. I loved this game. I put so many hours into it this year. Completed the first season pass, bought the second season pass, and then fell off the game, unfortunately. So I never got that skin. But I really enjoyed this game. I think I will probably go back to it. I guess it'll depend because I have joked before about how like once a year I get back into League of Legends, and I didn't do that this year for the first time in like 5 years, 6 years, because I was playing this for months and months instead. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get back into it again next year when I'm kind of in that multiplayer itch. But those first couple weeks when everybody was playing, I was having a lot of fun squatting up with people and trying to like chase increasing my rank and all that stuff. And yeah, I think it's a really good game. It's certainly not the most groundbreaking MOBA in the genre, but I think if you're a fan of Pokemon, it's a really good time. And it was a game that like the innovations that it brought to that genre, I really appreciated. Like the timed matches and having it be, kind of framed more like a sports match, things like that. I thought were really like fun, creative choices. And especially I think when they add some new maps and stuff like that, I could see myself coming back and checking it out again.
Yeah. I loved it, and then I started losing too much, and I was just like, man, 10 minutes, I could lose 2 Splatoon games in this time.
I was
So, yeah.
done the moment we did that stream and we didn't win a single one because we kept getting paired with that other team that was just
Oh yeah.
ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to play this on my own. I'm playing with 3 other people who know how to play this game. I was just like, I'm not playing this. It's not going to happen.
You got to practice.
I'm not big enough into Pokemon for that
Yeah.
to be the draw. Like for you, Pokemon was the draw, and then the game kept you there. 'cause
And
it
I
was a big
also
game
like
on top of
MOBAs, right? Yeah. So
that. Yeah.
yeah, I was hoping we could rope you in just because you wanted to play like with us, but maybe if we had won a bunch of games.
If we'd have won and I felt like a hero, I was like, yeah. Then it would have been
went
great.
in
But
thinking we were going to destroy children, and then we just got destroyed by the children.
we did, yeah.
Yeah,
We
or by
did,
the one other
definitely.
team of adults. No More Heroes 3 dropped on August 27th. Here's a franchise I just have no relationship to. So shout out to you, No More Heroes people. I feel like this game was not super well loved, even by those folks, which is a shame.
I don't know. It got 75% on Metacritic. I think it was okay.
It's not great. I mean, well, whatever. Let me know.
But I
Right
feel
in.
like it's the kind of game that if you like this game, you're probably gonna love it.
Sure.
If you're just a normal person who's never really played these games and you're reviewing it, probably ain't gonna be for you. So it probably skews the scores a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably fair. All right, so then we had WarioWare Get It Together, September 10th.
That
Love
was a
it.
surprise.
Chewy's
Big
game of the year.
surprise.
It's so good. I love it. I don't know how many hours I have on it at this point. It was upwards of 30 at least, which is quite a bit for, just a little micro
Yeah.
game thing. But like I said, what it did so well is just like the Wario Cup, the weekly challenges that it has, all of the rewards that you get to level up your characters and just keep, I don't know, it's a bit of a grind for sure later, but just the challenges are so unique each week that it's just like, oh man, something completely new to do. It's amazing. So yeah, if you haven't played it, it's still got a lot of fun things going on. For the story's fairly short. I think it took me maybe 2-3 hours to go through and then get those weekly challenges, and then there's a bunch of multiplayer stuff too that I haven't gotten to play, so I'm kind of hoping over the break I can put it on with my nieces and nephews and just
That'll be
see
fun.
see what the reactions are to this. It would be cool.
You know, I was convinced this was going to be my Christmas party game of 2021. Like, absolutely convinced this was going to be the one. I pick it up, I go and play it, because this came out during, I think it came out
It was
around
September.
a lock-timey period or something in the UK. I can't
Oh, okay.
remember. And I was like, there's no point because I can't play it with anyone. And then I remember saying, oh, I'll pick it up around Christmas. I'm not going to bother now because Mario Party filled that hole for me a lot better than
Yeah.
WarioWare ever could.
I think unfortunately, there were just too many games like this year. Because similarly, next on the list was Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania on October 5th. The same kind of deal where it's like, in a slower year, like, yeah, maybe. Like, I really enjoyed Super Monkey Ball 2 on the GameCube. But like Mario Party. Like, Mario Party's the party game. Like, I don't need a WarioWare and a Super Monkey Ball in a year when there's a Mario Party, especially when it's Mario Party Superstars, which, we'll talk about in a minute. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like similar to Shin Megami Tensei, it gives me that, I don't know if either of you are Seinfeld fans at all, but there's that episode where Elaine finds, like, another group of people that are just like them. And there's this line where she says, we already have a George, right? And it's like, that's the vibe that these give me, where it's like, we already have one of these. I don't need more. I don't need 2 other things. Nah, we're good. A Mario Party.
It's like the Shin Megami Tensei thing all over again.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
already
that's what I'm
have
saying.
5 coming out. Why are we doing 3?
We already have a Shin Megami Tensei. I don't need a second one this year. No thanks.
And I've never ever seen Seinfeld. Like, I'm going to put that on my list as possible things to stream on Wednesday over
I've
at
been watching
Patreon.
it.
What, just
every
watching Seinfeld?
lately.
You can't do that.
Yeah, of course I can. You do watch along, but watch parties on Twitch.
you
As
do-
people click with their Amazon thing.
Oh yeah. Interesting. Do you do like I started doing this with Jackie because her family did it, but like New Year's movie marathon just
Oh
to
no,
get to the new year.
that's cute.
It's fun.
I like that.
Yeah, they tend to choose like a franchise that's got like tons of movies and they watch like a few of them before midnight.
I
It's
remember there
fun.
was that
I did
thing
it. I
that
did it once. I did a Tom Hanks movie marathon, and I just watched movies with. I just watched movies with Tom Hanks in. That's all we did.
Nice.
We watched Tom Hanks films.
Awesome.
All right, I like that. Okay, so on October 8th, we got Metroid Dread, a serious game of the year contender for all of us. I'm sure it will be winning. I'm pretty confident to say it'll win our Nintendo Game of the Year on next week's show, but you'll have to tune in for that to hear us crown all of our Game of the Year winners so far. So yeah, that's going to be a fun one. But yeah, I think Metroid Dread was a real treat. And for me anyway, it was a big surprise. As someone who has historically not cared about Metroid, has not loved the Metroidvania genre, I really found myself to be taken with that game. So much so that it pulled me off of Deathloop, which I was obsessed with and was just, but then I was like, I have to beat Metroid. And I know if I stop playing, I won't get back to it because my chops will get off. And like, I needed to finish it. I had that drive, you know?
Yeah.
I was the same. I finished. I'm never like that with games. Like ever. I never ever am like it where I just can't stop playing. I was playing this. I was determined to finish until 3 a.m. There was no way I was. There was no way I was turning it down. And I think it's also worth noting that a new Switch came out on that day as well. Like this was the year that we had a brand new Switch model announced and released on the same day as a brand new 2D Metroid game. I think that alone has to really show how strong a year this was for Nintendo.
Absolutely. I think Metroid Dread is the poster child for Nintendo's success in 2021, I think. Then went up October 29th, we had Mario Party Superstars. You know, what more can we say about the best Mario Party game ever made? Like, it's phenomenal. I think literally the only thing that it needs to be like a perfect 10 out of 10 in my mind is DLC. Like, get more courses,
more content.
We need more boards. You know, I don't even necessarily think we need more mini games, but more boards. You know, like,
that'd be nice. Bring
in some more of that legacy content that we all love so much. This game is such an amazing celebration of what Mario Party has been at its peak. And I love it for that. You know, it's a game I've had a ton of fun with, and one that I'm looking forward to play for years to come. Tune in 2022 for our tiebreaker for the ongoing Super Mario Party. Mario Party Superstars. Jesus Christ. Every time I want to say Super Mario Party Superstars. The ongoing feud that's happening over there is what I was trying to say. Then on November 12th, we got Shin Megami Tensei 5. I will render a verdict about this game whenever I get our P.O. box set up and Zaid can send me that collector's edition. But until then, I got no opinions on it. Looking forward to trying it out in the new year for sure. And then last on the list, we had Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. You know, Chuy, it's funny. I have not necessarily hit the same wall as you, but I have not played much of the game since we talked about it last. I've not found myself to be super motivated to play, if I'm being honest. I think I wasn't necessarily itching for a Pokemon when it came out, but I love Gen 4, so that kind of got me there. But Microsoft put out Halo. And that is another franchise that I am extremely nostalgic for and was excited to get back to. And there hasn't been, for my estimation, there hasn't been a good Halo since Reach. So it's just...
Ouch. Just doing 343 a dirty like that.
I mean, hey, for what it's worth, this is like in the conversation for the best one now. So, you know, yeah, maybe they fucked up 4 and 5, but they got their shit together for their latest at bat. So... All praise in the world due to those folks over at 343. It's been tough for me to play anything else, if I'm honest. Like even Far Cry 6, which I like booted up as kind of like a palate cleanser. Like I've I have put that down to
Who is
focus on
cleansing
Halo.
their palate with a Far Cry, dude? What? That is like cleansing
'cause
your
we
palate
said-
with like stodgy chocolate cake.
It's junk food.
It's not like cleansing your palate with. No, it's not like cleansing your palate with a lemon sorbet. You're like digging into an absolutely ginormous game.
Yeah, but I don't know. You know what I mean, though. It's like I wanted something simple and mindless, and it was working that angle.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that works.
But yeah, I mean, like the last couple weeks, like I've been really busy at work, and we've been doing a lot of stuff, so I haven't had a ton of time to game. But when I have had time, the thing I've been looking forward to playing most is Halo. And that's really made it tough for me to chip away at some of these other games that are on my backlog or that I've started or what have you. And now that the single player is out, I don't know. I think
Can't wait to talk to you about that.
I'm in a fucking Halo
Twitch
groove
podcast.
for a minute here, I think. So yeah, I know I'll get back to Diamond at some point, but also it's like Arceus is fast approaching, so like I don't know.
That's the one.
Yeah,
That's the one.
part of me is thinking
I'll get into that.
Part of me is thinking I might just start Diamond over and do like a Nuzlocke or something on stream, so like I have a reason to play it outside of my normal time, because I would
feeling
really
the
like
same
to.
thing where I'm like, if I had some sort of goal in mind with it, I think it would help my progression. Because I turned it on for about 10 minutes, and I'm like, ran into another wild Pokemon. Well, I guess I'll beat it and save and quit.
I mean, like I've been so tired at the end of the day. I haven't had a lot of energy for like gaming when I'm trying to go to bed and stuff, and that's usually when I have like my sweet spot for Switch time. If it's not a game that I'm like mainlining at that point, and right now that's Halo. So we'll see, but I'm sure I'll get back to it one of these days. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I think it was a relatively strong year for Nintendo. It like there are a number of standouts. Maybe not like some of the heavy hitters that we come to associate with like the best years of the Switch, but I feel like it had a really strong like layout of like those kind of B and slightly higher titles here and there, right? Like Metroid Dread obviously being a standout, but we got your Snaps, your Mario Parties, your Mario Golfs, a lot of the B and C tier franchises got good at bats this year. So maybe we didn't get a Breath of the Wild, but still a strong year.
Yeah. Oh, and we totally forgot this one final December release, Big Brain Academy.
Oh, of course. Who could forget?
is cute. I liked it, and it's a cheap game, so
nice.
Which makes a change for a Nintendo.
Buy it and tell me how big your brain is, because I want to beat that.
Yeah, I think it was a good year. I can see why some people would be disappointed though, especially considering the fanfare Nintendo gave Mario last year, and it feels like Zelda kind of got a little bit pushed to the wayside.
Yeah, we
got one lackluster release and a re-release of some N64 games, and that by all accounts is great, the Game & Watch thing, but it's not what people really wanted, which was some other Zelda games coming to Switch.
Other HD ports, the ones that maybe already were
Wind
on Wii U
Waker,
and could probably move
Twilight
here
Princess,
pretty easily. But
that'd be lovely.
All right, so we're going to close out our last show of the year with a question from the question block. This one comes from one of our Patreon supporters, Mr. Trendy Brendy, who wrote in and said, what Nintendo games or franchises are at risk of being Stardew Valley'd? People think of Stardew Valley before Harvest Moon or Story of Seasons today. Is Metroid Dread a Hollow Knight-like? Could the next RPG Mario be a Bug Fables-like? Will anybody make a new Chibi Robo? So I think there are... I don't know. It's tough because when you say them being at risk of being Stardew Valley'd, I feel like that's tougher with Nintendo franchises because I think a big part of Nintendo franchises is that kind of Nintendo quality to them, right? Like like you could make a game like Star Fox, right? But like, will it have the personality of Star Fox? Will it have the art design and all those things that people connect with, right? I think there's been plenty of games that have been like F-Zero like ripoffs, and none of them have really connected,
I don't know. I think Wipeout did a pretty good job over on PlayStation.
Sure, yeah. But
I do wonder if F-Zero came back. I think a lot of it comes from like historical presence, right? Who came first? And Nintendo were there so early in the 80s, laying down the groundwork for these games. Like we call the Metroidvania games is named after 2 games. It's a whole genre itself, just named after one of their games.
Yeah.
And I guess it needs to be if something looks like it, or if it feels like it, like something like Stardew Valley. Oh, it looks like Stardew Valley. Oh, it's got the farming elements like Stardew Valley. Just because I think Harvest Moon and Story Seasons just went away. They hadn't made a decent game for so long. And I think there's only dead franchises like an F-Zero that really could potentially have that happen to them. The problem is there's an F-Zero map in Mario Kart, and everyone knows it, and people still remember F-Zero. It's not old enough, or it's not obscure enough yet.
And I think like some of the I think this question that Brendy shared came from he had quote tweeted a poll that Jeff Grubb from GamesBeat did about Pokemon being in jeopardy of this, and asking if Pokemon could be in jeopardy of this. And I think ultimately the answer is unfortunately no, because like so much of Pokemon's appeal is the machine of it, right? Like if you're old like us, there's nostalgia, there's, you have all these warm feelings associated with Pokemon that for a lot of people are the reason that they show up, right? More so than the gameplay. Or I think it was on this show that AJ from Fanatics 4 famously said, I think I've realized I like Pokemon, not Pokemon games. I think that there are folks that feel that way, right? There's so many people who are like, I want a action RPG Pokemon, right? Not a turn-based thing. So like, even if somebody came along and made like a better Pokemon game, I struggle to see it being able to, quote unquote Stardew Valley that genre or that franchise, because it's just like you said, Steve, it's Pokemon's never going away, right? Like,
no.
So how do you compete with it?
Part of it could depend on what you mean by Stardew Valleying, because did Jeff mean by Stardew Valleying that we're going to get an absolutely killer indie version of that game? Like it's going to be,
I think so.
Classic gameplay, those like pixel art aesthetic, that great music that people remember, those chip tunes, and bringing that into like a modern game. And we get rid of the chibi style, we get rid of the 3D style and all of that stuff, and it is like back to basics of what people remember. I think that could happen if that's what Stardew Valleying is, and that's what Jeff meant. I don't think it will get to the point where it supersedes it and people think of this game before Pokemon.
That's what I think he means when he says Stardew Valleying, because I think otherwise you're just spiritual successoring, and like there are tons of like Temtem is a game that does that for Pokemon. And by all accounts,
DokeV's due out soon, right? So
sure, and that's
basically the same similar concept of you're collecting these animals,
and that even seems like less of a one for one though. Like if you go look at Temtem, Temtem looks like Pokemon. Like it looks like it's like we're doing a Pokemon thing. But it'll never, even if the gameplay is better, I don't think it can replace Pokemon. I don't think it can supplement Pokemon or supplant it. Whereas like if you were to be like, I want to play a game about farming. What should I play? The first thing most people would say is Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be like, Harvest Moon is the farming. Like, that's in the fucking rear view now.
Do you think that's because those games weren't good enough quality? Like, I'm sure you've played some of the Harvest Moon games, right, Chuy? Because I
played the old ones back in the day.
I never played any of them.
Yeah, I played older ones.
Friends of Mineral Town, I think, was the one on GameCube. And then there was the one on the GBA around that time. Maybe that was the one. Either way. The GBA and the GameCube one from that era were excellent, and like some of the ones before that, the N64 one was good. Harvest Moon used to.
But were they as
ass.
good as Stardew Valley though? Like,
yes.
Is it because Stardew Valley is better than those games?
No, it's because those games went away or started being bad, and then Stardew was like, okay, remember that? Here it is, but good again, and that was what brought it back. And I feel like that's the thing. It's being able to do it as well as something that went away or better and replace it. And I think that's really hard to do with a Nintendo franchise, because so many Nintendo franchises, because even look at Metroid, right? Like the question Brendy said, is Metroid Dread a Hollow Knight? Like, no. Like
No,
Hollow Knight,
no way.
Hollow Knight is aping Metroid, not the other way around. And even if Metroid learns from those games and new things that they do, it's not the same thing, right? Metroid is not trying to ape Hollow Knight. Metroid might learn things from Hollow Knight or any of the other Axiom Verge or any of those kinds of games. Sure, absolutely. But so what, right? Like that feels like more like okay, this is a genre that's evolving and they're learning from each other and it's a conversation. Not like Stardew Valley is the only fucking game in that genre that anybody cares about in a mainstream capacity. Sure, there are dozens and dozens of other games that we've talked about on the show that have farming elements or a town or any of those things. I'll tell you what, though, and we talked about some of them last week. I can't name those fucking games by name, right? I might Littlewood. We talked about, right? If you guys didn't talk about that game,
There is no farming in that game, though.
okay, fine. Maybe that's a bad
There's a bit of
example.
farming. It's a bit of farming.
Not to like the same
but it's
extent.
not like
though.
focused. Yeah,
it's not the
so
focus. You're not running a
This
farm,
is
yeah.
exactly
You know
my
what?
point.
I will say though, I do think I wish Paper Mario would go in the direction of Bug Fables again. And Bug Fables was really great.
That would be cool.
And they did that formula so well in a unique way. Like they changed it up in a way that was like, okay, cool. It was more like you had static party members and everything when you went through it, rather than like a switching party member throughout the story. But I don't know. I don't see Paper Mario going that direction, and it's unfortunate too because we already lost the other Mario RPG, Mario and Luigi.
Rest in
are those
peace.
going to come back? Who knows?
Those games
Who knows
were
if they're going
fun.
to come back? But now it seems like Paper Mario's kind of gone away from that RPG stuff. They don't really have a Mario RPG at the moment, and I think they could have a lot of fun with it, like they have in the past, but they choose not to.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I feel like I don't know that there's a good candidate for this to answer the question. I don't know
It's
that
got to be
there's
something
another.
obscure, right?
and it's something that would have to be something
Like
so
Icarus or something.
yeah, or like Balloon Fight or some shit like that, where it's
Yeah.
like, maybe you could make a better Duck Hunt. I don't know, but like, I think when it comes to the Nintendo franchises that we think about as being like their established IP, I feel like so much of it is untouchable because of like what you said, Steve. There's just a legacy with Nintendo that's hard to touch. You really like, if you're going to come for the crown, you've really got to come correct if you're trying to like take out Nintendo. And especially like when you look at, right, like Metroid is a great example. There's this whole wave of Metroidvanias that have come and gone and shown that genre is popular and has lifeblood in it. And what did Nintendo do? They're like, all right, we'll make a new one and it'll kick ass and it'll be a Game of the Year contender, right? So it's tough. It's tough, man. Like Nintendo has remained dominant in this industry for this long for a reason.
It's Yoshi. Somebody's gonna make a better
That's
Yoshi.
the franchise. There we go. We solved it, everybody. All right. Well, thank you, Brendy.
And I was
No,
saying,
go
and
ahead.
this was the first Metroid game that they actually called a Metroidvania in
That
their
is true.
in their marketing. Prior to that, it was like action exploration game, and it's just like, fucking come on, it's a Metroidvania, and everyone's called it that for decades. Just get behind it, Nintendo, and they finally just did it.
Well, all right, gang. Brendy, thank you for writing in. This is a good question. I appreciate it. I wish that there were more franchises that were in jeopardy like that because it would make Nintendo work harder like they did with Metroid Dread. So, keep buying those spiritual successors, I guess. Anyway, thank you to everybody who wrote in. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for listening, and thank you for a wonderful 2021 here on Nintendo Noise. We have been just overwhelmed by the support and the response to the show in our first year, or not even our first full year. And we have some really, really fun stuff planned for 2022. We're really looking forward to bringing it up bigger and better and doing all kinds of really cool stuff. So make sure you tune in for our end of the year episode next week. It'll be out on Monday. The Flip Screen Games podcast, our sister show. If you've never checked it out, we talk about everything outside the world of Nintendo and games over on that show. So we'll be kind of doing our year wrap up over there. And we'll, I think, ideally by that point, we should be able to talk to you about, we're going to have a little end of the year survey so we can hear from all of you folks in the community about what you liked about the first year of content, what you think we could work on to improve moving forward. So we're really looking forward to getting that feedback from y'all and coming back even better and stronger next year. So thank you again for your support here and tuning in to this episode of Nintendo Noise. We will catch you next week for our year. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Patreon, go to flipscreen.games. That's the plugs this week. So catch us next week for our end of the year special. It'll be a good ride. And until then, keep gaming. Catch you next week.